name is Jay. Now I know putting together some foosball tables can be a bit challenging, so I'm here today to help simplify that process. The first step you want to do is open your box and lay out all your pieces to make sure that they're all accounted for. Now that we have all the parts laid out, you can refer to the manuals pages 1 through 3 to identify all the parts. When you first opened the box, you would have noticed a much smaller box within a large box, which contains all the smaller parts, as well as the nuts and bolts used for the assembly. Now these bags are all marked and labeled, which will make the assembly process much easier. Also included as far as tools goes is an Allen wrench. However, you will need a Phillips head screwdriver to complete the process. Well, with no further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Now for the first part of this assembly, we will be attaching our end panel brackets to both end panels B using H4 screws. Now there are 3 sets of brackets. One has 4 holes, one has 6 holes, and the other has 2. We will be using the bracket that has 4 holes. Now you will notice on your end panel B that there are 2 markings. You want to attach your bracket to the center of those markings. Now, the holes are not pre-drilled here, so you will need to apply some pressure when installing your screws. I did indicate in the very beginning that you needed a Phillips head screwdriver for this process. However, I'm going to be using my impact driver fitted with a Phillips head tip. Now that you've attached the end panel brackets to both of the end panels B, we can move on to the next step. The next step is pretty similar to the first. You will be applying the same bracket with the 4 holes to end panel C. Using the same markings, you want to face the end panel bracket face out and in the center of the line. You'll be using the H4 screws for this as well. Go ahead and repeat this step to the other side of end panel C. Next, we will be assembling our end panel B to the side panel. Now you want to make sure that the side panel is placed upside down and the ball entry hole is closest to the floor. Now make sure when you are attaching the end panel B to the side panel that the 2 bottom brackets are faced down and that the wood finish is faced inward. We will be using the H3 screws, which are slightly larger than the H4 screws for this part of the assembly. You also want to make sure that the in panel is also flush with the inside of the side panel. Now go ahead and repeat this step with the other side panel. Next, we will be attaching in panel A to in panel B and the side panel. Now you want to make sure that the wood finish is face down and that the curved edges are faced out. We will be using the H4 screws and the bracket that has the 4 holes for this part of the assembly. Now again, these holes are not pre-drilled, so you will need to apply some pressure when installing these screws. Alright, once you've installed in panel A to in panel B and the side panel, go ahead and repeat this step on the other side. Next, we will be attaching our playfield to the bottom of the assembly using the H3 screws. You want to make sure that the playfield is face down. One tip to make sure that it's properly aligned is to start at one corner and work your way diagonally. Now that we have fully inserted our playing field, we will move on to the next step in installing our support braces. Now we will be using the larger of the 3 brackets. This particular bracket has 6 holes. We will be applying it to the end of our brace with the bracket flush and to the larger side of the brace. We will be using the H4 screws for this part of the assembly. Now there are a total of 3 braces. You will need to attach these brackets to both sides. of all your braces. Now that we've attached all of our brackets to all 3 of our braces, we are now going to attach all 3 of our braces to the side panels. For this first brace, you want to make sure that it's directly in the middle of your foosball table, and the other 3 spaced about 1.5 feet apart. And you want to make sure, for one, that these are faced right side up and that your brackets are flush against your side panels. We are going to be using the H4 screws for this process. Next, we will be attaching the smaller of the 2 brackets, the one that has 2 holes, to the corner of the playing field and your side panel. Okay, now once we've attached all 4 of our brackets to all 4 corners, we can move on to the next step. We will be attaching our end panel C to both end panels B. We will also be attaching our corners to end panel C and the side panel. There are 2 grooves on both sides. You just want to line them up. And it should slip right in. Now, on this end panel C, there are 2 brackets that are on the bottom. You want to also screw in your H4 screws into the bottom of end panel B as well. Okay, next we will be attaching the end panel C to the inside of end panel B using our H4 screws. Next, we will be securing our chrome corner piece by inserting one of our H4 screws into the side panel. Once we've attached all four of the chrome corners to both the in panels and side panels, we can move on to the next step in attaching our legs. Now you will notice on each of these legs there are two holes on two of the sides. You want to align all four of these holes to both the side panel and in panel. Also making sure that the larger hole for the crossbar is facing inward. We will be using the H1 bolt with the H2 washers, along with the Allen wrench that was supplied to attach our legs. When attaching our next leg, we are only going to be using one bolt at this time, and you want to just kind of hand tighten it. The purpose for this is you want to have a little bit of wiggle room when inserting your crossbar. Now once your crossbar is in place, go ahead and add your other three bolts and tighten. Now go ahead and repeat this same step on the other side. Next, we will be placing our goal over the in panel hole using our H4 screws. Next, we will be attaching our ball catcher to the side hole of the side panel and securing it with the H4 screws. Once we've attached our ball catcher, now we want to go ahead and secure the ball runner hose between the goal and the ball catcher. Alright, now go ahead and repeat the same step on both the ball catcher and the goal on the other side. Now you want to attach all of your leg levelers to the bottom of each leg. And the purpose for these levelers are in play. If the table's a little bit off, you can adjust these levelers by just turning them a few notches to the left or right to even out your playing field. Once we've inserted our leg levelers, we can now turn over the table. You will need some assistance when turning the table over though. The most important part when assembling your Kick Splendor foosball table is making sure that the rods are all set up properly on the table. Before installing the rods to the table, please carefully review the diagram located in your manual. To assure that you install these rods properly on the table, the easiest way to go about this is to lay all the rods out on top of the table first. What you want to make sure is that you match up the holes with each rod with what's in your instruction manual, so that you know the equal amount of players per holes in the rod are correct. You also want to make sure that there's a hole on the correct side of the table where the handles are going to go. Now when attaching your parts and players to the rod, you want to be sure to first add a stopper, a washer, then your players, then your washer, then another stopper. And you want to finish by lining up with the second hole. Go ahead and light up your players accordingly. And we can move on to the next step in mounting your players. The easiest way to attach each player is to line up the back of the player with the hole, then insert your nut to the hole, put the player back over, making sure that you're holding the nut in place, and make sure that the player is still lined up with the hole. Slide the bolt to the chest of the player, and then just tighten accordingly with your tool. When attaching your handles to your rods, you want to first grab your rod and then twist your handle over the designated hole and secure your handle using the H7 screws. Next, you want to place your rubber caps to the end of each player rod. Next, you want to attach your slide scorer to your end panel. One of the best ways to do this, to make sure it's straight, is to line up both the ends of the slide scorer to the white lines on the playing field. And then secure using your H6 screws. These are not pre-drilled, so you will need to apply some pressure when screwing down your screws. Go ahead and repeat this step on the other side. Next, we will be inserting our ball entry cup into the side panel and securing using our H5 screws. Next, we will be attaching our cup holders to both sides of the end panel These holes are already marked, so you just want to line it up and attach using your H5 screws. Well, okay, we have finally completed our assembly on the Kick Splendor foosball table. I hope this instructional video helps simplify the process. Thank you.